until after he died.
Here comes Robert.
I think interesting.
Hey, Robert.
Good morning.
Come in, Robert.
Hey, Robert, come on in.
How's everybody this morning?
How
See, the conference is in full swing.
Yes, don't you want to join us?
What time is it?
Well, I better.
Who was
watch
your
up
favorite
reading
general,
86
Robert?
points.
Who was your favorite World War II general? We even talked about the war.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. I had several I liked and several I disliked. I liked Patton very much. I liked Ridgway. I liked Bradley. Bradley, I
We
think,
just
was
mentioned
one of the
him.
most stable ones over there, probably. And
Did you have any feelings about Marshall?
yeah, I thought he was very capable.
Mhm.
Yeah, Marshall, very.
Did you have any feelings about MacArthur? Of course, he was off in the Pacific.
He is a showman, yeah, but effective,
Mhm.
very effective, and his biggest advantage and attribute, in my opinion, is the knowledge he had of the Pacific, of the Japanese particularly, since they were the enemy
Yeah,
at that time.
yeah.
But
And he had lived in the Philippines and knew the Japanese.
yeah, and he was well informed. You know, he'd been over there for years before the war ever started. In fact, wasn't he chief of staff once and he retired, hadn't he? And then
Yes, yeah. He came back.
And came back as chief in the Pacific.
What about Eisenhower?
Well, Eisenhower, in my opinion, was a good leader in that he could get people to work together as best they could. A bunch of
From Madonna, yeah.
prima donnas, really, and
That's
he
right.
got especially people like Montgomery
Oh,
and Mark Clark in Italy.
yeah.
Mark Clark was a weak system.
Is that right?
Yeah,
He was a huge man. That's about 6 feet
very
tall.
very tall, slender, and in my opinion, couldn't lead a squad to chow without screwing them up. But he got through Italy
Yeah.
with the 7th Army, but it wasn't easy for him.
What about German generals? Which of the German generals was the best?
Well, some of them I can't think of their names right now, but one of them was that the probably one of the senior ones during the war there. God, I can't think of his name.
Of course, you remember Rommel.
Yeah, I thought very highly of Rommel.
I did too. I admired Rommel.
I thought Rommel was a good tactician. He knew people and knew terrain and he knew weapons. I think he was one of the better tactical officers that they had available. Von Rundstedt, I think, is probably the most capable one that I knew over there. Of course, he was older. He was getting along.
He was a Prussian. He was one of the
in
Prussian
war.
military family.
Yeah, and then I forget the name of the general that had the airborne corps over there.
Goering.
Yeah.
You mean Goering?
Herman Goring?
No.
No, not more. Not the Air Force. The air troopers.
Oh, paratroopers.
Airborne, yeah.
Who was Guderian?
It was Guderian. I think that was his
Guderian.
name. Yeah. Yeah, that was he. We got involved with him in the Battle of the Bulge, and I thought he was very did an outstanding job with what he had, what he had to do.
Now, you were not airborne into the Battle of the Bulge. You went on trucks.
We went in trucks, horse vans,
Horseman.
big cattle vans, horse vans.
Because the weather was so bad.
Yeah, and you could put about 40 people in one of them, see.
Smell like horses.
Got it full of hay, and you put about 40 guys in.
Oh, what were the names of the 3 Russian generals that we used to laugh at? Barashko.
Voroshilov, Budini,
Yeah.
and
What was the other one? Didn't you met the Russians, right?
We met some Russian troops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Austria?
In Austria. Right. Right.
And
Where'd you go after the Battle of the Bulge?
They could drink vodka.
After Ballard, we went to the Vosges Mountains in southern France.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that was in the 7th Army area, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Robert,
Now,
did
you
you
didn't-
walk or did you go in truck?
No, we went in trucks, we went in vehicles.
How did you leave Normandy Beachhead and go in after you passed?
How we leave Normandy Beach?
Yeah.
We went back by LST, back on the beach, from the beach.
Yeah.
They picked us up at the beach,
Yeah.
and on LST, and we went back to Southampton,
Oh.
and then by truck back to our base camp near
did we have
Newgate.
any airplane carriers in the Atlantic? Did we have any airplane carriers in the Atlantic?
Aircraft carrier?
Uh-huh.
Because they had
I
engines that
don't
take
know, I don't think so.
I don't either.
Janet really got some pains. You just wanted to leave it, or you want to see him?
No, leave them.
Okay.
And just
We
give her
could be in here a lot
really?
earlier and talk more
And
about
how much you want
because
for it?
I bet you don't have
Well,
any
that's
on
right.
tape.
No, we
And,
don't. We don't.
I'm him on tape.
Just give her a little consignment.
Well, Cooper would like this one.
I'll bet.
He thinks Uncle Robert is the greatest.
But we went back to our base camp then and got re-equipped. We left most of our equipment in Normandy. We left some firearms. The non-cons and officers took their firearms, but troops, we turned them in. No use to haul them back there and haul them across again. So, and we left our radios. We left quite a bit of equipment.
Did every man have a
Automatic
radio?
weapon. No. We had each unit, each company size unit had a radio, and then the largest units had headquarters had more than one radio. And some of them were vehicular mounted, some were. We left jeeps there and everything.
Now,
Robert,
did you,
where was the Harmon boy killed?
He was killed in the Battle of the Bulge.
is that right?
Yeah, he was killed in the Battle of the Bulge.
And he was the son of George Harmon of Jacksonville, the wholesale grocer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And George Jr. is the one who died in the hospital when I was there with mastoid.
No.
George Harmon Jr. and I went to the hospital both from the 3rd grade, and we both had mastoid, and we were both operated on probably the same day.
Yeah.
And he died.
He didn't make it.
He didn't make it, no.
Harmon was a nice little boy, young,
Very
small fella.
He
Yeah.
was the younger brother of George
He had
Jr.
come to us late.
Didn't we kill him in an explosion of some kind?
Oh God, I can't.
Yeah, because I got a letter from you. He's
Yeah, I can't.
whether or not shrapnel came in, I forget, but he was killed shortly after he got there.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Do you have your letters from Robert?
I destroyed them.
Oh,
What?
And
That's
we had a trunk full of
unforgivable.
letters,
Oh, Mary.
and I burned them. Oh, I had letters from I had a trunk full of letters
From World War II.
from World War II, the people I'd corresponded with, old beaux. I mean, I'm talking about a single trunk full. And we had a hurricane, and a lot of things, papers that day got started wet, and found out, oh shit, I gotta keep all these in. So I burned them all, every one.
I'm just, annoyed.
Well, you read a few of them, they were highly personal. They
Well,
were,
and she was so ticked off about the war that
I didn't,
you know.
She was giving everybody hell.
Yeah,
I remember.
That's right.
and I didn't like
letters weren't worth rereading.
But anyway, I burned them all. I burned the letters, and then, well, you finally.
What I'd like to do, and what we all ought to do, is write to the principal people that she wrote letters to and see if we can get them back. I mean, other people that you wrote letters to, because you were such a prolific correspondent.
I did.
I've got a lot of your letters. I've not a terrible lot. I've got 3 or 4 dozen, I guess, at least.
But anyway, I burned them because you just finally have to. I mean, we had a hurricane, everything got wet in the barn. You remember when
Oh yeah.
so many of our business papers were.
Where was that? After you'd moved here?
Oh, yeah. It was probably in the early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, we had a lot of other priorities, and I thought, when will I ever read these again? I don't know. I just, but they were all well.
Somewhere I have all of James Goofy's letters. I don't know where they are, but they're there somewhere.
Was James killed?
No, but he was in the 86th.
James,
82nd.
82nd.
I think it's
He was-
Sam. Sam
He was
Wilson.
in
Well, this was the cousin from South
80,
Carolina.
82nd.
James.
Yeah, but I did.
82nd went to Italy.
82nd. Yeah, he was through Italy.
Yeah, well, they went. That's right. They went in Italy, and then they came to England, and then they went in Normandy at the same time we did.
Oh, did they go into Normandy?
Yeah, he
Was
was.
Normandy your last jump?
First one.
The first one. And you made a total of 4?
No, only 2 combat jumps.
Oh.
There and Holland.
Holland. Oh, yeah.
Then Bastogne operation, we went in by vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't make a jump after Bastogne?
No.
Went by truck into Austria?
Right, we went by truck. That's right. When we went into Austria, we had been detached from the division and had an airfield in France ready to make another parachute operation, but we were never called on to do it.
I see.
And it was going to be a one on the prison camp operation.
Yes.
Where they had reports of mistreatment of prisoners, or prisoners were abandoned by the Germans.
Wait a minute now.
Wait a minute now.
Wait a minute, I want to
Very
get this.
interesting. I've never even heard of this.
Go ahead. This was after Bastogne?
This was after Bastogne, right? Right after Bastogne, we came back. We went right to Mormon. Went right to the Bose Mountains by vehicle, and we were down there about 10 days, I guess. Working with the 42nd Rainbow Division.
Oh, yeah.
Which had an unfortunate experience in that they had come over late.
Yeah.
They were committed. The artillery was still on the high seas. They had poor artillery supporting them,
Yeah.
which was very inadequate. The communications were bad. They had to piecemeal the units in there, one battalion at a time.
Good
They
night.
were all mixed up. One battalion, one regiment was here, one of another regiment next to them.
Yeah.
They were in bad disorder. They were against a mountain SS division.
Oh, they were. They had the
in
toughest.
the mountains, in the Bose Mountains. Well, Bose Mountains are very beautiful mountains. They're not great big like Alps, but they're very steep and abrupt, and you can ride along a road like this and look down a rolling valley. It's almost straight down, but it's all covered with grass,
My goodness.
and there are cattle all around. And it's unusual. I wanted to go back there someday. But
42nd.
You want to go back someday?
I'd like to go
Well,
back.
let's hurry up and do it.
Yeah.
I'll go with you.
all right.
Gertrude can go.
What our orders were down there was to, we got with the 42nd people and told them, tonight we'll be right here, and tonight you just pull out, just get out, just move everything out completely, back of this highway. And in the morning we're going to go and we're going to make the line back to the Motor River, which is what they
Was defending.
wanted. That was what they wanted us to get the Germans on the other side of the Motor River.
I see.
The Motor River was about as wide in places as this rug. It was very deep and a lot of water in it. Some places it was quite wide. And so by noon the next day we were on this side of the river, the Germans on the other side of the river.
Which was the objective.
That's right. We never did much more after that except patrolling in the daytime and at nighttime, sending troops across and so forth. And then we went back to Montmelon, back to France. And then we were detached. The rest of our division went by truck to Germany, to fight on foot. We stayed there to make another, at the airfield, to make another airfield.
4, side A of cassette number 4, and we're in the middle of Robert Ballard's discussions of the battles following, of the actions following the Battle of the Bulge.
Now
Listen, who was...
finish your thought, though. That
Yeah.
you were, so then you were waiting
Oh,
for
yeah,
airborne
we were
orders.
waiting, and at that time the aircraft, the C-47, the C-46s, were all working with Patton. He was making a big breakthrough and was going 30, 40, 50 miles every day.
He was trying to beat Montgomery.
That's
For
right,
one
he was
thing.
trying to beat everybody. And
Is he the one that got through to Bastogne?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
got you, broke the thing at Bastogne?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Go ahead.
his army.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so at that time, the colonel who was at the airfield, head of the troop carrier unit, told me it would take 3 days to get enough aircraft to even haul one of my battalions, much less all 3 of them, and the regimental headquarters too, service company and all. So he said, I said, well, I'm going to send some of my people on pass to Paris because there were plenty of hotels available, billets, U.S. billets there. Everybody was in the push going forward into Germany.
To cross the Rhine.
Yeah, and nobody was in Paris on leave, no soldiers. So we sent them in by truckload. Anybody that wanted to go, anybody wanted to go.
Is that right?
We knew could get them. Short notice, only about 60 miles or so. We get them on short notice.
And you wanted to give them a rest.
Everybody that I know went in, and I had to go in every other day because the first Allied Airborne Army, to which I was attached at that time, having been detached from the 101st Division, their headquarters was there in Paris.
Yeah.
And they gave a briefing to us. And there was one, also 508 of the 82nd was detached from the 82nd the same way, and they would come in for the briefing. And that's the outfit. No, Goki was in the 504, I believe.
I believe so.
The 504.
You were 501, weren't you?
I was 501.
Yeah.
So everybody, all of our troops got to go to Paris for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
You want to come back and go again. We were there about 2 weeks before we got orders then to rejoin the division at Berchtesgaden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we went to Berchtesgaden.
And you actually got there? You saw them?
Oh yeah, we were there. We were in the big barracks, the military barracks, German barracks.
Is that right?
And they were beautiful barracks. 4, 5.
Well, these were Hitler's special...
Eagle's nest.
Yeah. And I went to the Eagles.
Well, hadn't he been
You
killed
did?
then when you went there?
He was dead then.
We were there then, and then the division got orders to send a regiment down in Austria.
I see.
And in the Enns River Valley. And we went.
Quit talking over that.
Went through. Let's see. We went through. I flew. Although the troops went through Strasbourg and there's another beautiful town down in Munich.
Oh, yeah.
Through
Did you
that
get
area.
to see the concentration
Yes.
camps? Did you get to?
No, I saw one afterwards.
That's what I mean afterwards. What did you see the gas chambers?
So there we went. Oh yeah. Yeah. Then we went down the Enns River Valley about 50 miles, and the only opposition we were running into were small groups of Germans up these little valleys.
Were they still fighting, or were they?
Some of them were.
And some were surrendered?
Quit just as soon as they realized that we had a force there that was adequate.
They knew the jig was up.
Handily, they quit, yeah. There's no way they could get out of the valley. They couldn't go over the mountains on
They were in
this
this.
and they couldn't get out because we were there.
Yeah.
So they had no place to go, and they were small units. I think mainly had been patrols and that's an outpost security units and stuff like that. There were 1 or 2 roads that did go over the mountain, but either everything had gone on over, and of course our other troops were on the other side of the mountain.
How had they gotten there? By vehicle? Motor?
They had gotten there by vehicle, we had gotten there by vehicle.
Yeah, I see.
That's right.
But
So then we were walking from then on. When we got out of our trucks, we just walked down the valley. Went about 50 miles to a little town, I can't remember the name now, but where we ran into the Russians.
huh.
And we ran into a Russian infantry battalion.
Was this after the Russians had taken Berlin?
I don't recall.
That's what we're trying to figure
What
out.
was-
How
what
did
was-
they then? I don't think we were
What was your
there.
first contact?
They were all surrendered.
What was your first contact with the Russians like? What were?
My D company, which was lead unit of the 1st Battalion, met them at, they had crossed the bridge and ran into the Russians, and so they backed up to the bridge, and the Russians came to the bridge, and they put their flag up on their side, we put ours up on our side.
I see.
The bridge was about 50, 100 feet wide, I guess.
Oh, small bridge.
Bridge. Over Inns River was a shallow, beautiful stream, about from 200 to 50 feet wide, and this deep to wade it deep enough that you couldn't take a vehicle from it. But very. And
did you have any Russian interpreters in your unit? Did you try to communicate with the Russians?
We had one who could speak some Russian, but I couldn't get a hold of him. Division had taken him away from us, and he spoke French and
Some
German
Russian.
and Russian. He was pretty fluent.
Who was your commanding officer in
General
this?
Taylor was our division commander.
General Taylor.
Yeah.
He was head of regiment.
Yeah.
Robert was head of 501 at the
Yeah.
time.
I see. You
He
had
was
had
I
a
regimental
regimental
was
command.
regimental commander.
I see.
Right. I became regimental commander during the Battle of the Bulge,
I see.
when Colonel Ewell was hit in the leg, and General Taylor.
That was Maxwell Taylor?
Yeah, on the CO of the regiment. And at that time, things were pretty critical, with not much ammunition, not much supplies, not much help, and quite a bit of German activity. So we had some senior lieutenant colonels in the division, especially on the division staff, who very much would like to have had that regiment. But at that time, I think General Taylor elected not to make any major changes right then for morale reasons. And then after 10 days or so, it was too late to very well change around.
Tell us about meeting the Russians.
Their troops were very poorly uniformed.
Is that right?
Yeah, some of them had on dirty hats.
Is that right?
Yeah, and they weren't. They were
Dirty.
very poorly fitted, very poorly fed.
Sure enough.
They were issued. They had to live largely off the land.
Oh,
Sure enough.
They were issued flour and sugar and stuff like that, condiments.
But they had to go out and forage for
They had to
vegetables
do a
or
lot of
fruits.
foraging, and they killed. This Inns River Valley had a lot of cattle in it, and a lot of dairy activity, and a couple of cheese factories.
Oh.
And after a couple of nights there, I met the battalion commander. He was a big, gruff, very gruff guy. Spoke no English, but I spoke no Russian. But they did have one interpreter who could speak a little English. But our problem was keeping him sober. He liked to tickle, and he had civilian clothes on. He was a civilian in civilian attire.
Probably.
And after a couple of hours of trying to talk, he'd sneak off every now and then and get something to drink. And then he got to where he didn't want to talk. He didn't want to interpret.
What was he drinking? Vodka or
I think
local wine or what?
Anything he could.
Anything alcoholic.
Yeah. We gave him some bourbon. Oh man, he loved that bourbon. Oh,
Well,
he'd take up all. Hey!
Tell us about going into the concentration camp.
Well,
Did you see the gas chamber?
I didn't go in the gas chamber. I saw what I supposed was a gas chamber. All we did was get in a vehicle and go kind of through the compound.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know what the name of the thing was. We were moving. We were moving and not sightseeing.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't have time to do much. I saw the barbed wire and
Like the movies.
compounds and all that sort of thing. But
You didn't see any live prisoners, inmates.
There wasn't anybody there. There were a few miscellaneous civilians around, but I don't even know whether they were. But another problem we had, Austria was an enemy country.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't fraternize, you couldn't talk to people, civilians, unless it was official business.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't supposed to talk really a lot to the Russians unless we had some official business to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
I used to go down and take my staff down to this Russian captain. A captain brought in a little staff into the town. I wish I could think of the name of the town. We gave him a hotel there in the little town we had, because the river was on the right outside of it. The Russians were on that side of the river, but the town was on our side.
I see.
We gave them, they had a commission there to receive people coming back.
Mm-hmm.
What do you call them?
Refugees.
Civilians, yeah, but they call them something else, not anyway, they repatriated people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Civilians by the thousands
Really?
wanted to go back into where they come from.
Uh-huh.
They've been deported from Russia, and mainly Russia, and they
in work groups, that's right.
they wanted to go back to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So we became a point there where we were helping this Russian commission take these people, and they would delouse them. We had trains come down first. There was a railroad track down about it. The train came down with 2 loads, and we sent the 2 trains on through with the insurance that the trains would come back and get another load. And the trains never came back.
Huh. The Russians stole them, I bet.
They stole the train. So the next train, we put a squad of soldiers on it and told them to kill the engineer if he didn't bring the train back. They brought that train back.
They understood that.
From then on, though, there was a truck deal. They apparently needed rail transportation somewhere else around.
And so the rest of your people come in and got
The
trucks.
rest of them were trucks, and a lot of them were our trucks. And they hauled them back to Vienna and dumped them out and then came back. But they would bring in, this commission would get 400 or 500 a day. And they processed them, they deloused them, they gave them some...
How'd they do that? With showers? Put on showers?
With showers and dust.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Spray machines with dust, I mean, big machines with dust.
I see.
And this captain was a reserve officer. He was a school teacher, and he was older than the combat people. He must have been in his early 40s. And he was bald-headed and not a hair on his head. Big, tall, fine-looking man. And he had about 15 or 20, I guess, in his little headquarters. They did this work.
Were they medical people?
He had some medical people here. He had some nurses. He may have had a doctor, I'm not sure. But they didn't call on us for any medical assistance at any time. We fed them rations. We brought them food every day, rations every day, right? Just like they
The
were.
bald-headed guy was a Russian? Bald-headed one was a
Yeah,
Russian.
he was a Russian captain.
Is he the one that sang?
Yeah, he sang and he could dance.
Oh, I love
He had his
that.
boots
That
on,
Cossack
and
dancing,
He
yeah.
had a uniform on, tight neck, collar like this. He could get out and throw his legs out, man. And you give him a few drinks. He liked bourbon too. Give him a few drinks of bourbon, and boy, and so we would go down to his headquarters for briefing, and then he would come up to our headquarters for supper and bring his staff, and we'd sing, and he'd sing. He loved to sing. He'd sing, and he would take off of the train some of these dispersed persons, somebody who had vocal experience with a singer, and you just keep them. Just keep them there, and they'd sing for him every night, and then he'd get somebody else and let them go on the next load back. So this went on for about close to 10 days. And we were housed, my staff and I, my regimental headquarters was at a German airfield down the bottom of the valley. We were about 10 miles from our contact point with the Russians. And our billeting, we were billeted in a chateau up on the side of the mountain about a mile away on a prince and princess named Hohenlohe.
Very famous
princess,
Austrian aristocracy.
And they were there. They had fled in front of the Russians. And just about the time we hit the Russians was when we made arrangements to visit with them on the second floor of their chateau, their summer home. And they were afraid the Russians were going to come. And that was their greatest fear, that we were going to let them come on, and and that's why they wanted us, we found out later, to be billeted there, so as to protect their setup. Now they had some German replacement people, they had some German families there with them living, who had been families of the officers at this little airfield. When they took off and left, then these families came over and stayed there. So they were feeding them and housing them. And of course the food you got was, they killed cattle there, they had cheese, and it was very limited. Of course they were glad to have us because they could get some food from us. And we could get some fresh meat from them, and cheese from them. And we could get coffee and flour and stuff like that from us. But the Hohenlohes, the prince and the princess were there. And she wanted me to tell her about New York City.
Could she speak English?
Oh yeah, fluently. Oh yeah. And the library was on the second floor where we were building it. We had about 5 bedrooms, I guess. The dining room and library. And the library had a set of National Geographics completely around that thing.
You don't mean?
Yeah. And they were very well educated. She asked me questions about New York, and I told her, I said, look, 2 things. One, I can't talk to you about things that are not official business. The other thing is, I've only been to New York a couple of times. And the last time I went through underneath it in a troop train, at night, and it was raining. So tell me something about New York. I can't tell you much about it. She wanted to know all about what was going on. He hadn't been there in quite a few years. But and the prince was a nice he's a banker, nice old gentleman. And when he would ask us to come up to his quarters upstairs to meet with him, talk business, I would take a couple of staff officers with me, and he would have scotch. He'd always give us a drink of scotch, which we appreciated. And Then we had a very,
Well, Robert, when you all only had rations, how did you have so much bourbon?
well, you had every month you got a whiskey ration.
I see. But how did they get it there? How did they get it in trucks?
Oh, believe me, they get the whiskey ration, man. Don't you worry about that.
And then the
It's
English-
available.
And English got a whiskey right.
Well, they had a regular official rum ration. Yeah, they had, when we went Holland with them, they didn't give us the ration, but it was for, the British troops have an ounce per man per day available.
Mm-hmm.
And they use it at critical times that the commander thinks it's necessary to have it. They don't give them the ounce every day. They build it up, and they use it highly effective.
Is it always rum?
Yeah, dark Jamaican rum. Yeah, and powerful. I mean, I'm sure it's 100 proof. They gave us quite a bit of it up in Holland, and we got it through the doctor. The doctor would get it for us, and of course he got it medically. See, he got it medicinally.
To take care of those poor sick
Oh, yeah.
that never got it.
But when the British came up one night to make a river crossing on the Upper Rhine with the salt boats, they hit up there about 11 at night. We helped them put their boats in, and they gave every one of their soldiers a glass full of that rum.
Good.
And I'm telling you, those guys got in there and they had outboard motors. They ran up and down that river, shells flying. Hell, man. Let her go, boy. Let her go. They didn't pay any attention to them. No. We all got back behind the lady and jumped, and the shells falling all over the place.
They were out there in the open room.
They didn't even have exhaust on those old heavy root outboards, 33 horsepower. They were young, 2 miles away. You see the white foam from the boats running up and down the river. You couldn't see the boat, but you see the foam, white foam. But Hoylos then, though, down in Austria, they asked me to come up one night, and that they had a problem about a friend of theirs who was an officer in the German army, and they needed help. So I took my S2 with her, which was Phillips, Phillips from Atlanta. I took him and somebody else, I forget. We were, of course, we were always armed when we went up there. Always. Well, you were in an enemy country. That's all there was to it. You had to stay armed and.
You're in an enemy house too.
Watch, yeah, you were in an enemy house, especially. Though they were very friendly and very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that their daughter, they had a very good-looking daughter, tall, blonde. I can't remember her name. She was about 18 or 20, somewhere around there. And of course, all the guys gave her pretty good shape, but no touching. At least not that I know of. May have been some. But anyway, they sat us down and they said the problem was that this girl was engaged to a young tank corps captain. And that he had been in the Battle of the Bulge. And he was familiar with our unit, they said. They knew what our unit was. And that he had been captured and had escaped.
Oh my goodness.
And that the problem was they wanted, now, what we were doing now, they were letting prisoners go just as fast as they could process them. Our people were back in the back area. You send prisoners back there and they process them. If they were okay and didn't have any war crimes against them, they sent them back to Germany as fast as they could. Get rid of them so they didn't have to feed them, house them, and everything else. So they said, this man is a fine young man. And we would want to see if we can get him back to a prison camp, back to the processing, and get him released so he can come back, because my daughter, we like for him to come here and live here until they get settled down and they can get married. So I said, well, that sounds fine. I said, where is he now? He said, well, he's in the next room.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So
Oh,
I said, Phillips, what about it? Phillips was an intelligence officer.
Yeah.
He said, well, he said, if you reach for his pistol, you know. He said, well, we can, I think what we better do is take him into custody and take him back.
Take him personally to the...
Personally back and see if we can get him processed.
Uh-huh.
Because these people have been real nice to us. So we said, can he come out? They said, yeah. So they brought him out. He's in uniform. And a nice looking, tall guy, 26, 7 years old, something like that. And he couldn't speak any English. So, but they could converse with him very well. They saw all talk. And he said, yeah, he'd been at the Valley of Bullets. And so we said, well, if you give us your word, you'll stay here tonight. In the morning, we'll pick you up. And Captain Phillips picked him up, took him back some, 50, 60 miles back there where we were processing people. Got him processed and brought him back.
You don't mean it?
Yeah.
How long did it take? 2 days or something?
No, he brought him back, got back that night.
Is that
Got
back?
that night.
I bet those folks thought you were magicians.
Yeah, they were very grateful.
Yeah.
They were so scared of the Germans. I
Then-
mean, the Russians.
Oh yeah.
So scared of them.
Yeah, then
And probably was
somebody replaced us, another one of our other regiments
Yeah.
replaced us, and we went back to Berchtesgaden, back to this nice army barracks again. They had washing machines in the basement, had a beautiful cafeteria down there where our cooks could cook, and we had then, see, the war was over then as far as we were concerned. I mean, it wasn't officially over, but as far as there wasn't going to be any more fighting.
Hitler's death.
Wasn't anybody else
It
to
wasn't
fight.
over immediately when he died. It was some weeks before they processed. They actually signed the papers in the same rail car, didn't they? As they did in World War I, weren't the people?
Oh, yeah. Hitler insisted. No, excuse me, I've got it wrong. Go ahead.
But I think one of the English generals insisted that the peace, the French generals, I think the same routine in that old.
Maybe it might have been de Gaulle himself.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Hitler, I don't think peace was declared immediately after Hitler died. The Russians just zoomed through Berlin.
Yeah, see, well, Berlin was way north of where we were.
And see, that fighting didn't stop that instant, Gertrude. It went on.
I didn't say it did.
Yeah.
I know, I know that all the Germans in the south end down there, that army, a group of armies down there, were all quit. Fighting was over with. And they were, the big problem was how to get them out, get them back, and get them,
These lives.
get them back into prison compounds where the MPs could guard them and that sort of thing, and the combat troops would be free of them. And our division headquarters, General Taylor's headquarters, was there at Berchtesgaden. So we were in pretty close touch with them. And I remember going up to headquarters one day, and the German general that commanded all that southern outfit, and I can't remember his name either. He drove up to our division headquarters in his open Duesenberg.
Open top car.
Yeah.
A real fancy one.
Beautiful leather coat on. He looked like $1 million. Got out, the guards saluted him, everybody saluted him, took him in with his people, and he worked out, his staff and our division staff worked out the plans for getting all his people. He had thousands that he had to bring back. And they gave him gasoline,
I
rations,
don't believe in war.
just like our troops. They issued them for their vehicles, fuel,
Is that
and
right?
they set up their own convoys.
Now they were surrendering?
Yeah, they were surrendering.
But-
They had surrendered,
Uh-huh.
and now they were trying to get them out, trying to get them back into.
Back home.
I guess it would be getting them back around Munich, is where they were getting them to get them. Stuttgart, Munich, around in there.
But they didn't require American guards.
No, they had MPs here and there, traffic control,
Mm-hmm.
but their officers and their non-coms kept their weapons,
I see.
and everybody else had to turn their weapons in.
I see. Uh-huh.
But they brought their field pieces, their everything, all their equipment.
When they surrendered the whole thing.
They just packed up just like they were moving in maneuvers or something.
Uh-huh. Is that right?
Yeah, they just packed up. They stacked their arms in fields, and there's nobody there. There's
No,
nobody
reason.
You don't mean it. Huh.
And they were very, they didn't have any trouble moving themselves. And of course, we ran into one battalion commander, and we ran into up early in the Enns River Valley, who said he could get his battalion together and go fight the Russians. That's what we should do. We all needed to go fight the Russians. We weren't fighting each other, and that was a mistake. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We should be fighting the Russians.
You don't mean it.
If we give him ammunition and food, he would get his troops rounded up, enough of them, to where he could help us. When we hit the Russians, take them on.
Oh, you
Uncle
don't mean
Jim,
it.
you read Churchill's 5 volumes, didn't you?
Not all of them, but
Well, everybody that was involved in the world ought to read them, because
Yeah.
I've never known. So he tells us every single thing you say. How he got all that information from every front. But see, Churchill knew from the beginning that Russia would be the problem after the war.
Mm-hmm.
Never trusted Russia. Never trusted Stalin.
Yeah,
Predicted everything that's happened since then.
sure did.
But
It was Roosevelt who was duped.
yes, I think so.
Not Churchill.
Absolutely, not Churchill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in effect, a whole army surrendered to you.
Yeah, that whole army. In fact, I think that was a group, really a group of armies, and our whole division was involved down there in that south end. But we have mountain ranges between us.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't had any communication between each other.
Mm-hmm.
But division command stayed back in Berchtesgaden the whole time.
And you trusted the German general, didn't you?
Oh yeah. His word was just good as law as far as John Taylor was concerned, and anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He was an enemy captive soldier, but
You could depend on what he said.
Oh, yeah.
He would do it.
no problem. And he drove off by himself in the vehicle. I think he had a couple of motorcycle people with him, but it wasn't any of our people with him.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't
On the guard.
on the guard.
I see.
On the guard.
Yeah, that's good.
His word was, and of course, there's nothing they could do anyway. I mean, they were lost. They had their weapons had been
They
taken
couldn't
away
be
from them.
resupplied, for instance, if they
No,
tried to fight.
They couldn't fight if they wanted to fight.
Uh-huh.
No way.
And the general just simply wanted to save his men, I'm sure.
Yeah, and get them taken care of, get them fed,
Mm-hmm.
get them housed,
Mhm.
get them. So they had big compounds. MP had set up big barbed wire compounds where they could drive the vehicles and everything right in there.
Remember the general
Mhm.
prisons?
Yeah. So I don't know how many thousands of prisoners, but then they got rid of them pretty doggone fast. I mean, they had those military affairs units,
Mm-hmm.
another kind of unit, I forget the name of,
But the surrendering process, they cooperated in every possible way.
Yeah, oh yeah. Once they had surrendered, there wasn't any problem. When the German quit, his helmet went off and his little cap came on.
Exactly.
Oh, I remember seeing
War
that.
was over.
Yeah.
War was over. for
Seeing
you.
those pictures.
Right.
Like that. That's it.
I remember seeing piles of helmets and the people marching down the street with those
Little
little
caps.
little caps. I remember that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
When they threw the helmet off and put the weapon down, and
That was it.
you didn't have to worry about them too much then. You had to guard them because they didn't know where to go. You had to take them somewhere and do something with them. That's the problem with taking prisoners. It took somebody away from you to look after them. If you had 20 prisoners, you had
And
to
feed
take
20 men.
at least one man to guard them or take them back to the rear. You had 2 men.
Did your regiment come home as a unit? I mean, were you all brought home together, or would one company go off? And I mean, how did you get home?
Our regiment became a carrier unit. Became a carrier unit for some other units that were disbanded, and they joined up with our unit. And as such, I left the regiment before it was disbanded. Before it started home, I came home individually.
How'd you come by ship or plane?
By plane.
You did. From where to where?
I came by air from Paris to, I was at Berchtesgaden when I got my orders to come home.
Yeah.
Go to the parachute regiment at Benning, didn't you?
And yeah, and I went, I took a car took me to an airfield somewhere, I forget where, and I got a ride in a B-29, I think, to Paris. And my orders were to go to Paris to a certain installation there where they were processing people on what they call a green plan. It was a plan to bring back dentists and medical personnel. And I had orders to ride on it, be transported on that plan. So I checked in this big warehouse, about 5 stories high, full of cots. And hundreds of doctors and dentists all in there. And you check in, and the sergeant had a roster, and they had plain manifests all made up for 3 or 4 days. Names all on there. And I met another lieutenant colonel, an armored guy, was going home on a kind of an emergency proposition, because I had requested to come on home to help out at home because there was a shortage of everybody at home. And since the war was over, there was no, they glad enough to get rid of colonels anyway. So they told me I had a high enough priority, they would put me on as soon as somebody wasn't available there, if I would just be available. Stay, either tell the sergeant where I was or be in my cot and have my baggage ready. The plane left every hour.
Every hour?
The plane left every hour, yeah. Day and night.
And where did it go from Paris?
It went to the Azores and Newfoundland, then Baltimore. I think it was a field outside of Baltimore somewhere, Maryland. There. I forget the name of it.
And then you went from there to Benning?
I went from there to Benning. Right.
How long before you saw him then?
I
After?
happened to be in New York.
Oh, you were in New York?
I was the most active in New York.
I called when I landed. I called Jacksonville, and I got either Dolly or Gertrude or somebody, or Betty.
Got Betty.
And they said, well, Mary Ann's in New York. I said, well, where else, you know? Because John Trunny was up there.
Yeah, and what I did, I was taking a course at New York University. I taught lessons in occupational therapy to the shell-shocked Air Force, naval personnel.
Naval personnel.
And out of the air base. and someone had suggested, and you had to teach courses where they couldn't use any sharp instruments, crayons, or charcoal or something like that, because they had all been, they were brought in sometimes manacled and just released just to take the lessons and so forth. And then at New York University had a very special concentrated course in teaching crafts for these people with mental problems. And so John Prunty just accidentally was going to be in New York, and we kept in touch with each other, and I said, well, I'm going to take this course. So I was at a small hotel in Washington Square when Betty got hold of me. I'm in Greenwich Village, and said that Robert was there. So I guess she must have given you the number. Because somehow or other he called the hotel. I just waited, and then I found he was there. Yeah.
I never heard that story.
And then did you go to New York, or did you go to
Came back
Baltimore?
with Frank. You came.
Yeah, I came up.
Came into New York.
Yeah, we stayed at the hotel.
Stayed at a
It's a
hotel.
hotel.
From
Yeah.
Baltimore?
Then we took a train. Then we took a
I
train.
remember
to come
when
out.
I walked in with my luggage in uniform, the desk man gave me an eye, you know, when she went up and said, "This is my husband."
And I've been going out to dinner with
We're
John.
here for the night.
Having been out with Prunty tonight.
I
But
thought that's something
that wasn't amazing, huh?
funny, you know.
But I never will forget those quarters at Benning. They were the most tremendous, you know, it was goes to the Colonel's quarters. It was head of the parachute school. Remember that huge house we had?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely.
Big two-story house.
Enormous two-story, 4 or 5 bedroom house.
How long did you stay at Benning?
It's several months, Robert?
Yeah, with this.
Good Lord.
Several months, I guess. And he was head of the parachute school. And we had some friends there that we had known that had been wounded or
Yeah,
something.
the Hannum.
The Hannum, Deli Hannum.
And quite a few
Yeah,
others.
so we knew some of the people there. And then we had stayed in Columbus. We was at parachute school. We had lived in Columbus.
And then there was quite a few fellows there had been in the regiment and had been wounded and come back, and they went to school.
So it was a kind of a minor homecoming in that we knew a lot of our officers that were there. And that was kind of a pleasant interlude because it was.
Well, now, when did you actually separate then from the active duty?
Well, it wasn't really till late in the year, and then I had quite a bit of leave accumulated, so it was January of '46 for I was.
And weren't you? Did you get separated Blanding? Did you go to Blanding?
I went to Blanding. Blanding was right. I had to go to Blanding which was a separation of sound.
We went to Swanee in January of '46.
Where were you separated? Where did you?
In Jacksonville.
In Jacksonville.
And about November.
Navy Air Station.
I guess so. I can't remember. I was in the recruiting office, and I don't remember.
Probably wasn't at the air base. Probably downtown somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was at our Office of Procurement place down
Now,
there.
where was Sam, Dolly?
Blanding, he may have seen Robert. He was in Blanding when you went to Blanding.
Yeah.
Because I think he was there until, when were you in Blanding?
46. January 46.
No, I had several months
leave.
terminal leave. I forget what the limit on it was. It was a limit on
How much
how much
accumulated
you
leave?
accumulate, and whatever it was, that was it. And I don't remember really, but I think I must have been there in November or December.
45. Where was Sam overseas?
No, just at Camp Blanding.
Just at Blanding,
Yeah, he was.
He probably was.
Yeah, he was there wondering, and how come we didn't? Well, of course, I was there only
He was just in the hospital, unless
one.
you
I
had
was
to.
only there about a half a day.
Yeah,
I didn't even spend the night.
yeah. Well,
Now then, what did you all do
And you weren't
after the
married then?
separation?
No.
Did you all settle down here? Or?
We came down here.
Oh, you did. And then you worked for Chitty and Company for a while.
Yeah, for a while. Then we bought our grove in 49.
In '49.
September of 49. We moved down here.
But Robert was actually working with Uncle Buste at the branch,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
you were for a while.
For
Oh,
a
yeah.
while.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then we took over the grove.
And let's see, you got out in November of 45.
Yeah, yeah.
45, and then 46.
When did Earl get out?
Oh, I don't have any idea.
Earl was in the Pacific.
It was around about that same time.
I vaguely think
Yeah.
so too. I think it was within a few months
Yeah.
of the same time.
I think everybody.
And then Billy,
Yeah,
I wonder
right.
who died.
Well, I don't know, Billy.
He was at Olathe, Kansas. That's where he got separated from Lady, I think.
Maybe
He
so.
came home from Olathe.
He'd been in Hawaii.
And then went back to Olathe to pick up Marjorie, didn't he? He was in Jacksonville and went from Jacksonville back to Olathe, and he swore to me that he would not get married.
Yeah.
And then he came back married. And that's when I got out of your apartment and let him
That
have
was
it.
about Christmas time, I think.
Yeah, I guess it was. I remember I let him have my car. The same one that we rode around in
I
when you
came
were
to
there.
Jacksonville in
When were you married? When were you and Arthur Junior married then?
June of 46.
June of 46.
When he called me up in November and asked if I could be a secretary, and I said I was a psychologist, but I could be a secretary. What do you have in mind? And I talked, the only people I talked to about Madeline died is President Swarthmore. But I asked Courtney and Betty Smith, what should I do? And they said, go and tell him that you're interested in him, that you just don't want to go up there and be a secretary. So I got on the train, stayed with Aunt Killer, and said my piece, and we agreed we'd go. And I covered my tracks and then spoke. I said I was going up there for a semester. And you went on the 30th of January, and I went on the 31st, and we were married that June. So you all came.
Yeah. I was in your wedding.
Yeah, you and Em.
Em and I were in your wedding.
Em
I didn't go
expects
to
us
it.
there
Why?
for lunch.
Oh, yeah.
Sure does, yeah.
What time is it?
Harold,
It's
you
12
got
o'clock.
Stop. We're just
Right.
getting started, good. Oh,
Yeah.
Robert, you were such an addition to our
Oh,
wedding.
absolutely. This
Oh,
is
well, my
fabulous,
goodness.
yeah.
I've heard some of that, but not enough. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Well,
Well, you think you better go now then?
You want to turn that
We
on?
got